This video is talking about how to do rotation, section 9.3. We already did it just on a piece of paper, but now we're going to talk about how to draw a rotation in the coordinate plane. If it is one of these degrees, life becomes a little bit easier than making all those guidelines and then measuring it with a protractor and then erasing it and all that stuff. So if it's one of these 3 rotations on the coordinate plane, which all of ours will be for this unit, you can just follow these mathematical, formulas and then map the points and then just redraw your image with the new mapped points. So if you're going to rotate an image 90 degrees, you're going to take your y coordinate, whatever your y is of your original image, multiply it by -1, and then switch x and y. If you're going to rotate it 180 degrees, you multiply both the x and the y coordinates by -1. And remember, 180 degrees would be like all the way this way. If you're going to rotate it 270 degrees, and all these are based on rotating things around the origin, where the center of rotation is the origin. If it's another point on the plane, it becomes a little bit more complex, but we don't need to worry about that. If you're rotating at 270 degrees, then you're going to multiply the x coordinate by -1 and then switch the x and y. So mapping is really helpful. If you've done it in the other sections, it'll help you here. So it asks us to, there's this parallelogram, and they give you the coordinates, and I've plotted it here, and they want you to map the new one after you rotate it 270 degrees. So if you think about it, 270 degrees is 3 quadrants away. So x, which is in quadrant 1, will go to 2, 3, and then it'll end up down here in quadrant 4, and so forth, because 270 is 3 quadrants away, or the third one. All right, so since we've mapped it, it asks us for 270, we're going to multiply the x coordinate by -1 and then switch it. So the x multiplied by -1 becomes +2, and then switch it, so 4 and 2. -3 and switch it. -5 and switch places, and then 0 doesn't change. So we can just simply plot the new points instead of having to worry about all the grid lines. So 4, 2, 6, -3. This is x prime. And this was w prime. And then 2, -5 is here. And that's y prime. And then 0, 0 stayed the same. And then in that case, you just draw the new image that's been rotated 270 degrees using the origin as the point of center. So this is a lot simpler. All right, so let's do a couple more. It asks us to rotate this 90 degrees, and if you're rotating an image 90 degrees, you multiply the y coordinate by -1 and then switch places. So 7 is multiplied by -1, and then it becomes the x and the y. They switch places. 2 is -2, and they switch. 2 is -2, and they switch. 7 is -7, and they switch. So we'll plot this one. -7, 7. And this is f prime. And it makes sense. If it was in the first quadrant, it's going to now be in the second quadrant because it's 90 degrees. So -2, 9 is g prime. And then -2 and 3 is h prime. And then -7, 5 is I prime. And then draw your image. And it looks like it was rotated 90 degrees in a counterclockwise direction. Okay, this one is, again, 90 degrees. So we multiply the x times -1, or excuse me, the y by -1, and then switch places. And we can plot the new one. So 1, -1 is L prime. 4, 0 is M prime. 2, -6 is N prime. Again, we're going 90 degrees in this direction, so it makes sense it would go from the third quadrant to the fourth quadrant. And then we draw our sphere. Okay. Let's do something different. If we rotate something 180 degrees, we have to multiply the x and the y coordinates by -1. And so they stay in the same position, but they're just, they change signs. And so you can see that we've done that. All right, so let's replot this one. 3, -5 is A prime. 0, -2 is B prime. And 5, -1 is C prime. And then we can oops. Okay, and it makes sense. 180 degrees, you should go 2 quadrants away. And the A is now on the bottom. Okay, 270 degrees, it should move here, then here. So here would be 90, here would be 180, and then over here would be 270. So it needs to be somewhere in this quadrant. So what we did for 270 is we multiplied our x value by -1 and then switched places. Okay. All right, so let's plot our new points. 7, -4. 6, -6. -2, -3. And -1, -1 is S prime. And then and it makes sense that it went here, and then flip back around to here. And that's 270 degrees. Okay?